I'm like, damn, I'll just pay for this, nigga. I'm like, damn, I'll just pay for this. Yeah, we let you fucking know. When we slide, you know we tote them fucking poles. Yeah, you know they fucking blow. Shooting for your dome, yeah, you know we up the stove, nigga. Yeah, it's MDH in this fucking bitch. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Khepri Conversations. I'm AC1. With me, I got Nyobe. Today, we got a real good conversation, a real good topic we're going to talk about. Superman becoming bisexual. What was your initial reaction to hearing that?
I mean, like, it wasn't surprising necessarily. Like, I wasn't shocked because that's kind of like how I was going recently. I wasn't offended by it. Like, I wasn't offended by something like that.
No.
You know what I mean? But I didn't necessarily, I don't know, I was kind of indifferent. Like,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you said, this theme has been going on for a while now. I think a couple years ago, they made Spongebob gay.
after like 20 years.
Yeah,
And I don't know, like, I feel some dedicated, like, Superman fans, like, I was never really watching or, like, reading comic books or anything like that. But Spongebob is a whole different story.
One, because that's children. Like, that's a children's show.
Well,
so I feel like...
Is that shit actually?
I mean, it's not... The content isn't a children's show. Like,
But it was a children's
Yeah,
show. Like, everybody got childhood memories of it. Like, that's probably one of the most watched childhood shows.
the content, it wasn't a children's show, but it's geared towards children. Like, it's on Nickelodeon. That's another problem. Like, the stuff they talk about in SpongeBob and the stuff they expose kids to, with it being geared towards kids, is a whole nother problem itself. But just to talk about them making SpongeBob gay, why is sexuality being introduced to children in the first place? I mean, I get the whole wanting to be inclusive thing, but why are we introducing sexuality?
Exactly.
I feel like that doesn't make sense.
I think that's an example of literally just like you said, introducing it like spontaneously out of nowhere. For no reason. Like, it doesn't have any relevance to this old ass character. It's not gonna change. Like, you know what I mean? It's not gonna change anything about who he was the last 20 years we've been watching. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it seems kind of like pandering to me.
Exactly. I feel like they're trying to over-sexualize the nation by targeting our kids, and they're gonna grow up into the next population.
Yeah.
So, like, if they're over-sexualized from children, they're gonna teach their kids to be over-sexualized without even knowing what's really happening
I mean,
to
like,
them.
sex, like, obviously, alright, like, SpongeBob touches on sex in a way that's gonna go over his head.
Exactly.
It always went over my head. I never growing up was like, oh shit, like SpongeBob was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I never was like, oh, SpongeBob was messed up, this is crazy. I never felt like I was watching something that I shouldn't be watching, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was literally just like any other kid show. There's a reason why in shows like that, sex is not a theme or like a topic in SpongeBob. And it's way more messed up things that they cover in SpongeBob than sex. And sexuality isn't like anything that any of the characters are necessarily having like a perception of.
It's being introduced, but it's going over their head. Y'all need to look up MK Ultra and like how psychological things that go over your head have a real imprint on your mind, especially as it's developing in that 3 to 12 year old span. If y'all want to hear more about that, tune into our podcast. My main issue with all of this is, like, instead of trying to be inclusive by taking old characters and old figures and making them bisexual or gay all of a sudden, why don't you just make new superheroes that are bisexual or that are gay or queer or lesbian? Like, why are you trying to change history? That doesn't like make too much sense to me. Like you said, I wasn't offended by, you know, Superman becoming bisexual because, like, I don't really care.
I mean, I'm not necessarily offended by SpongeBob either.
Yeah, I'm not offended
I feel like
either.
a little bit more strongly about that, but it's still not nothing that I feel strong.
Yeah, but my point is, like, one, I'm not offended because I'm not a part of the comic, you know, community. So I don't know how they feel about it. I would be offended if somebody like Black Panther was made bisexual.
Yeah.
That would offend me. So I can't speak on how maybe white straight males that looked up to Superman their whole life feel about this, or people in the comic book community. But, like, Superman was never my superhero. So, like, that's why, you feel me, I don't really care that much. It's just this theme of trying to take old stuff and put a new remix on it that the kids that are watching this stuff, they don't think about like how it actually was when it got founded. They're just going to think about how it is now. They're trying to do this with a lot of stuff. Like they made Robin bisexual too in the DC comic. They're trying to make James Bond black female now. And Bond was like the James Craig. He played the latest James Bond. He was like, James Bond doesn't have to be black, but he has to be a male figure. If y'all want a female representation, make another agent, make a new person.
Do you feel like it is people pandering to the community or whatever? Or do you feel like it's people in the community that are now like in these positions that are making decisions like this?
It's a mix of both, but mostly the higher ups pandering to the community. Because you got to remember, think about how much we talk about the LGBT community, and think about probably like how small that community is in comparison to the entire population. So to an extent, they can't be doing too much other than making their voices heard. The only people with power that to change things are the people at the top. So I think it's pandering on their part.
These like TV shows and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, to the point of the TV shows, I still like feel like the executives aren't changed. Like they're still the same executives. Maybe they have newer representation of like these like other films. So like maybe that's how it's getting introduced. But I would definitely say it's pandering with a new representation underlying it. How do you feel about the James Bond?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like taking something and just completely like transforming it is the way to go when you can, like you said, new characters.
Exactly.
And there's always some new, like you got, I don't know, bro, like Kill Bill. You know what I'm saying? Like there's strong female characters. There's no reason to take James Bond and completely twist her into a black woman. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Honestly, what Daniel Craig said is true.
Yeah.
James Bond.
Exactly. I remember growing up watching the James Bond, and like honestly, I think James Bond is a white male. To be honest, we can make another black James Bond. Like, why does one James is? I mean, I guess James is an American black name to an extent, but Bond isn't. Like, give it a black name.
James is an American name.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you actually want to represent these communities, make characters that coincide with their cultures. Don't fucking be like, yeah, James Bond, oh, but he's a fucking black female. That doesn't make sense, because
and then like 60 years after that character has existed, that's like, I don't know, that's the part of it for me is like the historical aspect. Like when something is that established, like a 60-year-old character, you really just randomly in 2021 just decided that like,
yeah.
It's also just kind of like messing up like the sanctity of like what people did at that point, like that art. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
You're gonna take I don't know if it's the owners or the people that are credited with creating these characters that are making
trying to make
decisions.
this push.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't think that would be the case, because number one, this is Spider-Man that's been around for damn near 100 years. James Bond, like you said, 60 years. Spongebob, 25 years. You know what I mean? Like, this is not new.
Exactly.
These, a lot of probably people that were around that create those characters are probably not even writing for those.
Exactly.
Or they're probably not even associated with that.
And yeah, they're probably dead, and you're like trying to change like their creation. The easiest way to repeat history is by forgetting it. So we need to showcase the progress that we've made. Yeah, bro is dead, and y'all trying to change his changed his character. Like, that's messed up. He created something. Leave that creation in the world. And if it is demeaning towards certain communities, like there's a bunch of superheroes and stuff that are directly demeaning towards black people. But it's like, by trying to take them out, like the Aunt Jemima, how they took her out and changed her, that's literally trying to erase history. And we need to keep history so we see the progress we had and we see what we don't want to do. Like, I don't know, I just don't agree with this whole woke cancel culture movement of trying to change everything.
I feel like being like accurate, being true to whatever story you're trying to tell is like always the most important thing. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, like bro, we were just talking about how The Sopranos, every single character in The Sopranos is racist. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
fuck with that.
And that's a dope show.
I fuck with that show.
Number one, that's a dope show. And number two, the reason why those characters are racist is because it's trying to be true to the reality. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
SNL did a skit where they had like woke mobsters that was like, hey, you can't say that, that's homophobic. Hey, you know what I mean? Like that's
It's
kind of
like you're trying to change
where it's going.
who they are.
You're trying to dumb down and filter reality to fit a certain narrative. You know what I mean? And you're also just painting over the world that actually exists. You know what I mean? Or exists.
Yeah, and that's the scariest thing. Yeah, all in all, I mean, I'm glad that some people are feeling that society is accepting them more. I'm glad that you feel more accepted. But I feel like if you really want to be accepted, you should try and create new characters rather than changing old ones. By creating something and putting that into the world, you'll really get the support that's actually for you and not just for the character that it used to be. That's it for this video, y'all. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. If you're new, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. MDH TV, out.
Peace.
Fucking like you know I'm fucking blasting heat. Got my Nina on my side and she gon' fucking blast with me. I hit that nigga in
It is what it is.
No.